Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of our Juventus career mode here on EAFC 24. We're returning today after the previous episode where we sort of settled into our new club here in Italy. Made a couple of signings with Stefano D'Angelo, young Italian right back signing on a free, and Giuseppe Ambrosini, the former Napoli striker, joining us for 14.75 million. We got loads to crack on with today in regards to the summer transfer window, so we're going to dive straight in. Let's get to it. So we're seeing our first big sale since joining Juventus here as Caio Jorge departs to Tottenham Hotspur for £35 million. And I actually think it's a decent bit of business. Board reckon we could have got a little bit more for him, but I don't think we could. And with the signing of Giuseppe Ambrosini for just £14.75 million, I actually think that's a pretty decent bit of business. And another sale going through here. This is going to be the pace of today's episode. Facundo Gonzalez off to Palermo for £8 million. A couple of interesting bids have come in here. First off for Tommaso Barbieri. Lecce looking to take the Italian right back off our hands, and for £4.5 million. Hopefully that deal will go through and we'll keep him in Italy. And another player who could be staying in Italy, Milan Skriniar, and I actually don't mind this one. Normally I wouldn't want to sell to a division rival, and although it could potentially be strengthening Roma, I actually don't mind it because Milan Skriniar has played most of his career senior football in Italy, so it makes sense that he would want to stay in the country. And well, if Roma want to take him, they're going to have to pay more than what they're offering. 12.5 million. Are you happy to pay that? Yes. Okay, so Milan Skriniar could be heading to Roma, and that gets his huge wages off the books as well. Well, with it looking likely that we have a further two centre-backs departing the club, I think we're definitely going to have to bring in some more depth in that position. I think this man, Lorenzo Parola, is a really decent option. Left-footed centre-back, so he can play on that left-hand side. And he's got a decent bit of pace about him. The acceleration's a little bit low, but high sprint speed, really high jumping, really high strength, and he's quite an aggressive defender as well. Really, really good actual defender, stand tackle, slide tackle, really good, and solid in the air as well. The fact that he can play on that left hand side, and at 27 years of age in his prime, I think for around 25 to 30 million, that's a really good bit of business to bring Lorenzo Parola to the club. So for £25 million on a 4-year, 75 grand a week contract, Lorenzo Parola joins us from Salernitana. And again, like with the Giuseppe Ambrosini deal, he was in the final year of his contract. And I think this is just a really savvy piece of business. As mentioned, he's left-footed, so it's natural on that left side of the defence. And I think he can step in and do a really solid job whenever he's needed for any midweek games. But we have had a bid from Bologna for Luca Pellegrini, and I quite like that one, trying to keep him in Italy. So I'm going to try and squeeze a little bit more cash out of Bologna. They're not budging on 10.5. That's fine. With him being in the final year of his contract, for the sake of 500 grand or £1 million, I'm not gonna potentially risk the deal falling through. So Bologna, hopefully that deal will go through for Lorenzo Pellegrini and we can find a new suitor for Koni de Winter. And another big departure from the club here as Milan Skriniar heads off to Roma, staying in Italy. He's gone from Inter to Juve and then Juve to Roma. So getting around the Italian clubs, but decent bit of business, 12.5 million, and that pays back half of the fee that we just spent to bring in Larola from Salernitana. Another bid here for Gabriel Brunner, this time from Portimonense. He's on quite a high wage of 20.5 grand a week, so I'm hoping that Portimonense will be able to strike up a deal for the Austrian. So unfortunately the deal for Tommaso Barbieri with Lecce has fallen through. We have had another bid here from Hellas Verona, same fee of 4.5 million. Hopefully this time the deal will not fall through. Well, having signed Stefano D'Angelo, the young Italian right back in the last episode, I found his brother Carlo, who plays on the left-hand side. And seeing as Pellegrini's the only left back we've got at the club, and it seems as if he is going to be leaving, I'd like to bring Carlo in, similarly to his brother on that right-hand side, as nice backup at fullback. High work rates, absolutely rapid, really high stamina, and he, like his brother, looks like a really good pickup on a free. So Carlo joins his brother Stefano in joining Juventus, and again, like Stefano, I think this is a really good bit of business. Still only 19 years of age and has lots of room to grow, and I think he looks like a really solid backup at left back. Oh wow, huge offer here for Mason Greenwood from Paris Saint-Germain, of course. Last year's runners-up in the Champions League to our Sheffield United team. And I'm not actually against letting Greenwood go. If we can strike up a deal for a big sum, then I don't actually mind letting him go. I'm not too fussed about the exchange player. If they'll give us 70 million quid, no, I don't want these random NPCs. Give me 70 million quid and we have a deal. Okay, wow. Well, that's a sale I wasn't really expecting, but Mason Greenwood looks like he could be heading to France to play for PSG. And looks as if a deal is going through here. I'm not actually too sure who that is we're walking out. It's Tommaso Barbieri. Another player out the doors. He heads to Hellas Verona, staying in Italy. Don't mind that sale. Oh, and it was a twofer. Luca Pellegrini. Finally, that deal's gone through for him to go to Bologna. Been waiting for that one for quite a while. So both of those fullbacks out the door. So with Pellegrini now out of the door, I think it's time we bring in our first choice right back. And I had two names on the list: Destiny Udogi of Napoli, who were winners of Serie A last year, so I don't really want to disturb their team too much. And Fabiano Parisi, never used him before, couple of years older, same overall rating, and just solid across the board. Really high stamina, really quick, good on the ball, and just a really solid all-rounder. Never used him before, as I say. Probably going to cost a fair few quid, but we've got the money in the bank, so let's bring our man in. So my first bid is going to be 60 million plus Coney de Winter, because if I can include him in the deal... Okay, fantastic. Well, Diego Simeone, happy to include him in the deal. And yeah, fine with me. Fabiano, let's get him in. So Fabiano is in on a 4-year, 120 grand a week deal, and I think that's a great bit of business. Also got rid of one of the players we were struggling to shift on at Coney de Winter as he heads to Diego Simeone's side. And we've now got our first choice left back through the door. Let's go and get our right back as well. And the man that I want to bring in is the Bosnian Amar Dedic, a player that I've never used before. And again, it's similarly to Parisi, looks absolutely solid on that right-hand side. Can play left back as well, so is dual-sided. And just looks absolutely rapid, full of energy. My perfect, ideal fit for fullback. So Amar Dedic signs for £33.5 million on an 85 grand a week 4-year deal. Again, a player that I've never used in career mode, and the Bosnian looks like a perfect fit for me. Absolutely rapid and flying down that right hand side. Really high stamina at 88 as well, and he's a really solid defender as well, with 82 stand tackle and 82 slide tackle. I'd like to get the defensive work rate up to high so that he's high, but other than that, he looks like the perfect fit for this Juventus team. Really happy with both fullback signings. Well, there is another big piece of business as Mason Greenwood departs the club for £70 million as he joins up with Kylian Mbappe at PSG. Not sure how we've only got a C for that. They reckon we could have got 90 million. I'm not so sure about that. But Mason Greenwood departs the club. and another 70 million goes into the bank. So we're still sitting at around 300 million to spend. We're nowhere near done with this rebuild. Well, we've had a bid here for Giovanni Garofani. Great name, that. And I'm actually going to accept that from Midtjylland. I'm not sure if it's going to go through due to the high wages, but I've actually got a plan to bring in a new backup goalkeeper. Well, in all the madness of the transfer window, we've actually got our first batch of scouting back from our 3 new scouts. So we'll see if we're able to find anyone decent from the first month, and I'll let you know if we do continue the scouting on any of these guys. Oh, Enzo De Luca will definitely keep scouting. Wow, finally we have a breakthrough, and Gabriel Brunner is heading to Swansea City. It's about the 6th attempt we've had at trying to get this guy out the door, and finally he is leaving. Well, I still think we're quite short on both flanks, and with Mason Greenwood departing the club, I have found my replacement. He is quite overused in this year's career mode, but I have actually never used him, and that is the Belgian Johan Bakayoko. In the final year of his contract at Leicester City, and I think this is an absolute steal if we can get him for that price of around 35 million. So I'm going to go in with that £35 million bid. I'm chucking Pepe Marino in, and they don't want Marino, which is fine. But the bid is really, the counter bid is really not much more than our initial offer, and for £35.5 million, it looks as if Johan Bakayoko is going to be heading to Turin. Well, I am very excited by this piece of business. Johan Bakayoko is in on a 4-year, 100 grand a week deal, and for just £35.5 million, half of what we sold Mason Greenwood to PSG for. What an absolute steal that is from the Foxes. Right, I'm just looking at the squad, and I still think we're a little bit short on numbers. Only 27 players in the squad. I'm happy with my set of fullbacks, but only 3 centre-backs. And with Romero and Koundé both in their 30s, they're not going to be able to play every single game, although both of them do have decent stamina. So definitely need to bring in another centre-back. Again, I think I'm pretty happy with my midfield options, although we don't really have a defensive midfielder. So maybe a real out-and-out CDM is somebody that we could look to bring in. And again, in the wide positions, I don't think we've got a huge amount of quality in depth. Bakayoko and Prestiani on the right. We've got Berardi, who of course is retiring and is just going to continue to decrease in stats. Flores is only 19 and only 73 overall. And on the left side, we've only got Julian Duranville. So potentially some more options out wide, especially on the left, and also potentially again another attacking midfielder, as we've only got Adam Hlojek in there at the moment. We just need to bolster out the squad a little bit more. Well, the first man that I'm going to go for is that 4th centre back, and I want to bring this man, Ousmane Diomande, to the club. We've agreed a fee of £45 million with Granada. So we've got our man Ousmane Diomande is joining up with Juventus, and we paid a little bit more than I wanted to at 45 million, but we've got the money in the bank and we can afford to overspend if we have to on certain players. I'm now happy with my 4 centre-backs that I've got at the club. In an ideal world, I'd like to have a decent 5th choice, but 4 will have to do, and we'll have to rotate throughout the course of the season. Diomande, welcome to Juventus. Finally, another deal going through that has just taken way too long. Pepe Marino, the Argentine winger, is heading to Saudi Arabia for a nice payout at Al Ahly. Well, I think I'm going to make one final signing before our first game of the season, and that is to bring back Federico Chiesa from Marseille to Juventus. He's 31 years of age now, but looking at his stats physically and technically, he is still absolutely sublime. Can play on the left or the right, and possibly through the middle or as a number 10 as well. I do quite often like to bring back players if they've departed from a club in the save, and Marseille actually want Sekulov here, so I don't mind paying a little bit more if it means that we can get rid of him. 45 million plus Sekulov and a 5% sell-on clause, which is really quite redundant because he's not going to be going anywhere. Federico Chiesa looks like he could be heading back to Turin. Well, look at the media turnout for this man's return. Federico Chiesa is back in Turin, and I'm a big fan of Chiesa in real life. I quite often feel that we don't see the best of him because of the Juve team that he's playing in and the system and the way that they play. But I think under my management, we will really see the best of Federico Chiesa. Really happy to get him in. He takes the number 7 shirt once again. And as I say, I think we can get the best out of him, and he's going to help the young players like Prestiani, Bakayoko, Duranville, as he will really help them develop. And we got rid of Sekulov as well, so it's a win-win for everyone. Welcome back, Federico Chiesa. Wow, so I was just about to play the first game of the season to close out today's episode, but before we get there, we have had a monster bid from Newcastle for Randall Kolo Muani. Now, he isn't really a player that I was actively looking to sell, but at 30 years of age with just a year left on his deal, I don't actually mind letting that one go through. £85 million, and the Frenchman could be on his way to St James's Park. I don't mind that one if it does go through, because I have a potential replacement in mind. But before we get there, it looks as if we are going to have this Fiorentina game. First game of the season for our new club and our new look Juventus team after this summer rebuild. We're still not quite done with the new signings, as they still want to bolster the squad, but we'll save that for the beginning of the next episode. Let's close out today with this first game of the season at home at the Allianz Stadium against Fiorentina. Forza Juventus. Right, underway here in Turin, and I'm absolutely buzzing for this. Annoyingly, I forgot to change the kit numbers because that really annoys me. I will try and remember to do that after the game, but you may have seen we've actually given the captain's armband to Jude Bellingham. Obviously, we've had such a big turnover of players in this summer window, and I think the captain's armband was with Milan Skriniar, who's obviously ended up departing the club, but Jude Bellingham really is him. He is that guy. So I've given him the armband, another Englishman, and I'm hoping that he will lead this team to glory. Poor tackle that from the start, and Kenneth Taylor goes into the book. Oh, Jude nicks it. Jude Bellingham, there he is. He is him. There it is, the trademark celebration. And Jude Bellingham opens the scoring. It's poor from the defender. And he really is him. The Englishman in Turin with me, the manager, the gaffer. And it's taken just 12 minutes and Juve lead. Yeah, you may have seen that Kolo Muani does start up top for us today, obviously. A little bit of speculation as to whether he will be sticking around after that big bid from Newcastle United. But here goes another of the new signings, Bakayoko. I was worried that it might take time for all these new players to gel, but we've started well, and Bakayoko fires that just wide. Kenneth Taylor against Bellingham, and now Fratesi lets fly, and Diogo Costa has to scramble across his goal and make the first save of the game. Kolo Muani struggled with him today, and he's given it away again. And now Fratesi has it for the away side. Former Inter Milan man striding through the heart of that midfield. Gomez. Still Gomez. And he gets it back, Gomez. And that's nicely worked. And Parisi has some defending to do, which, well, he hasn't done particularly well. And Fiorentina are back on level terms. No clean sheet for us today. And now De Jong. And look at the space for Bakayoko out wide. And Johan Bakayoko comes infield. Bakayoko! Hits it low and hard, and Dragowski makes the save, and that might be enough to secure the point for the away side. And there is the final whistle, and it's not the victory we were looking for on match day 1. Happy to avoid defeat, but after being a goal up, it's a shame that we couldn't see it out. This is a very new look Juventus team, new manager, new players, and it will take time for everything to gel. Decent result on match day 1 of the Serie A campaign. And it finishes Juve 1, Fiorentina 1. Alrighty then, guys, that is where we will leave it for today's episode. Loads and loads of transfer business done today, and our first game played with Juventus as well. Really looking forward to this rebuild, as Juve are a team that I never really use in career mode, as I generally will look to other teams in Italy. But really looking forward to this. Like I say, lots of work to be done, and we'll be back in the next episode to finish out the transfer window, as I still look to bring in a few more bodies, and we'll then crack on with more games with our new look Juventus team. I hope you have enjoyed, guys, and I'll catch you in the next episode very soon. Peace.